the Tony Robbins video, to give some background on that. When we first started our company, actually before we even started our company, when I met these guys, when I met my two guys, one of the first things they said was, you could be on stage with Tony Robbins. And to be fully transparent, I didn't know who Tony was, and I wasn't a speaker. I wasn't a speaker. And you know, through just laying the bricks every day, laying the bricks and building the speaking company. We knew nothing about speaking. We were cold calling car dealerships. Do you need a pep talk? Like, no one knew who I was at all. So we laid bricks. My speaking abilities got better, the way I communicate with people. You know, the tools, that getting more tactical. I'm still trying to get more tactical, something that I'm working on, more business-like, but just evolving, on the road and speaking, 50, 60 times a day. I meant not a day, a year, whether it's free at first, whatever it may be. We were just laying bricks and trying to build credibility, establish credibility. And then I went to one of Tony's events because my buddies have crewed there, and they went there like, you need to go to his events. So I went to his events, and our intent was to meet him. And we were able to finesse and just, we're very good at just making things happen and just getting to the right people, to be honest. And we were able to meet him backstage with only 8 other people. And he invited me to his next seminar, which was Date with Destiny. I went to Date Destiny, attended it, went through it. And then we just always told his team, like, we got to like his, the people that make some moves. We were just like, hey, if there's anything we could do for you, we're always around. And then a couple months later, like, hey, we do a youth event in San Diego. Tony won't be there, but it's basically for youth leaders. We want you to speak. So I was like, perfect, a foot in the door. I speak, they loved it, and then we're like, hey, UPW, or if Tony ever needs Nick, he's always here. And then we didn't hear from him for a little bit. We kind of kept on him, didn't hear anything. And then a couple months ago, they were like, hey, Tony and us were thinking about speakers to bring on to add to the seminar, and your name came up. Can we work together? And I was like, oh my God, so. We started working together, started sending voice memos back and forth of where I would speak and where it would be congruent. And what's pretty cool is they were like, Tony wants you. Well, first they had me speak on day 4. So that is the day where Tony doesn't speak. He's not there. So he does day 1 and 3. And so day 4, they're like, we want you to speak on basically changing your physiology and your wrestling story and all these things. And so that was like their tester, right? So I did it in Dallas. It was a couple thousand people, and I spoke on day 4. They loved it. And then they came back. We're like, can you speak on day 1 with Tony?
Wow.
And I was like, wow, that's incredible. And it's a testament, because Tony doesn't allow anyone to speak on day 1 when he speaks. Mm-hmm. And they said the only way Tony would allow a speaker on day 1 is if he's absolutely certain that they can keep the energy as high as he keeps it. And so that was like him, like, believing in me. And so I went out, that video that you saw, that was my first time of me and him touching the stage together. So basically, Tony's on stage for 12, 13 hours that day. And so anytime that he can get a break or get some body work backstage, he's always in. And so he came off stage. I didn't see him come off stage. And then, they brought me on stage, and they were saying, when we give you the 2 thumbs up, that's when Tony's ready to get back on stage. So, that's when you wrap up. And so, I just came out there and I just channeled, I channeled from the higher power, and, whatever I say flows through me, and I just hype the crowd up and I do my thing. And, I burned it down. And then it was funny because I was hyping the crowd up at the end, and backstage they thought I said Tony's name. And so here comes Tony walking out on the stage, and I had no idea he was behind me. So I'm like, wow, I'm like freaking out. And then I turn around, and it's Tony Robbins. And I'm like, I say it on the mic. I'm like, oh my God, he's here. And I said, come over here. And I give him a big hug. And I'm like, and it was cool because, I wasn't there for like significance, right? I wasn't there for like everyone to look at me. And so immediately when I hugged him and we came off the hug, he said, give it up for me. And I said, give it up for Tony at the same time. So I was like, give it up for him. And he was like, give it. So like we gave each other like the crowd to love on us. And then, I walked away. Well, I shook his hand and I looked at him and I said, thank you. And he's thank you, brother. And I walked off and he turned around. And he said, give it up for him. And the crowd, So it was super dope for that to come. And that was something that we manifested and had a vision of for a very long time. And, you know, I visualized myself on the stage so many times before I went on. And that way, when I walked down stage in front of thousands of people, that I was like, oh, I've already been here, you know? And so that's the long-winded, you know, answer of the Tony Robbins video. And the one thing I want to wrap up about that is 2 years ago, no one knew who I was. No one knew who I was. We were cold calling car dealerships and people thought I was a joke. And so that is the power of having a vision and realizing that you're the only one that needs to believe in your vision, and you need to bet on yourself. And so I did the work. You know, I sculpted my presentation. I'm being a student of the game. I'm becoming, you know, a better communicator even every day, you know, just seeing how I could provide more value to people. And that's how I was able to get on that stage. Tony wouldn't put a man with no legs and one arm out on the stage just because they got no legs and one arm. Like, that's not the way he rolls. You need to be able to perform. And so that's just a true testament of, you know, dropping your ego and just being a student of the game and laying bricks every day.